Who's there? Who's there?
Oh, that's a good one. You probably see a lot of people in the store doing what I'm doing, but they are not playing the knock-knock joke. They are trying to find a good watermelon. So that's the topic today. I'm going to show you how to choose the best watermelon. When I was little, I saw a lot of people did this, and then I pretend to do that exactly the same thing, even though I didn't know what I was doing. And a lot of people in the store that you see, probably they pretend to do that as well. They pretend, but they don't know what they are listening for. Farmers have the advantage of having many watermelons to practice. But we are smarter. With only half watermelon, I can practice many times because many of the farmers' watermelon are the same. So one thing you can do is just tap this many times, but then you don't really have a variety, different examples. Here's the trick. I have only half watermelon, but I can have many examples of different kind of watermelon. And half watermelon, I scoop half of the watermelon meat out. See, this is what it will look like. On this side, there's no watermelon meat. This watermelon is too young, so that's a good example. One side too young, and this is overripe. So suppose this is my watermelon A and watermelon B. And I'm going to tap watermelon A for overripe. Okay, here's overripe watermelon A, and then I'll do on this side watermelon B. And then you can interpolate your experience. Imagine there's a watermelon C in between the overripe and the too young watermelon. So that's a watermelon C. It should be at this point in between the A and B. So you're going to tap here. So you have a third watermelon C. You tap many times to practice, as well as knocking it to see which way you are better at. After you finish, leave this on the table for a while, let it age, or maybe put it outside under the sun so the watermelon rind will soften at that point. So that's example of watermelon stay on the shelf. Remember, there are two variables. One is the spongy watermelon meat, one is the rind. When you tap or knock, how do you describe the sound and feel of the watermelon? I'll describe in different stages. So I divide this into 4 different stages. First stage is watermelon is too young. When you have a watermelon is too young, it's like just a lump. When you knock it or when you tap it, you feel like it's a cantaloupe. And then as the watermelon grows, the center will get soft and a little bit spongy. At this stage, I call it young. When you tap it, it's no longer solid. It's somewhat hollow at this stage. As the watermelon grows even more, the center will get bigger. Relatively, the rind gets thinner and thinner. And if you apply a force here, the force will transfer to this direction and that direction. And look at this thin rind. It's like you tap in a basketball. When you tap the basketball, you feel it bounce back. So the thinner wall make the bounce back feeling is quite different than when it's really young or too young. The hollow sound is still there, but then you do feel the bounce back. And then as you grow more, last stage I described is called overripe. Overripe in situation, the center began to disintegrate. If you open the watermelon, you can see fiber is forming. You imagine fiber is forming and the center is got really soft. A patch of spot here and there, you can see the fiber. At that time, when you use the method of squeeze, when you squeeze it, you can feel it inside is soft. And at that time, even though the skin is still tough, the rind itself gets softer. This is a round watermelon. If you have a long one, when you tap on the arch surface, you feel differently than when you tap on the center portion. But whatever I try to describe, there's nothing better than you have this watermelon A on this side, it's overripe, B on this side, and then shift around to this see and to get a feel what it feel like or what it sounds like. Knocking is the best way because it works on all conditions. I'm going to discuss some other methods. A lot of people swear by those methods because it works for them, but I'm going to discuss the conditions. Some may not work, but those can increase the probability of a success. So here's a summary of all the methods. When you knock it, it can work for too young and ripe or overripe. Pretty wide range. If you use the method for upper color, it works for transition from young to ripe. So that's sometimes it's a pretty good way to just look at a watermelon. But once the watermelon reach the store and stay on the shelf, the color will no longer change. And you can also use the ground spot color, the bottom color. You can also use shape. Those are work for very narrow range. Or you can detect the weight. But this is the only one this watermelon is full grown. So you can, based on the weight and the size, if you want to test the density, it's probably have a very limited range. Some people use the way to squeeze it and hear the sound. It will only work when it's really ripe to overripe. Other way, but those are for farmers. You can look at the vine and the tendril. So I'm going to discuss for each one. So let's come back to basic one. Watermelon is really small. It's like a solid lump. And then it grows big. So let's see what has changed from small to big. For small, it could be a little bit lighter color, like this color, the lighter green. And when it grows a little bit bigger, it will change to darker green. The older it is, the more fine the line would be. So that's on the top. On the bottom, usually is from a lighter green either to a dark yellow or to a little bit more white. There could be other varieties of watermelon which is a little bit lighter skin. The bottom is not supposed to be darker, maybe it's more white, it's lighter, and that's a possibility. So majority time for the dark green is right, but you could find exceptions. This particular one, I think the farmer probably turned it around, or he probably sitting like this among other watermelon. That's why on this spot is yellow. So that's not a good indication in this case. But if you see a watermelon, a larger area of yellow, that means it's been growing longer. So this is the spot, a dark one that you want. This is too light. This color is too light, and this color is good. So this is good. This is good. This is good. This is the vine, and this is the bottom of the watermelon. When it's older, it's supposed to be inny, not outy, because when it grows, this will get a little bit bigger. That's why it looks like it's inny. This is not as much of inny, but this end is good. Some stores sell the watermelon by pound. Some, like a Costco, they sell by each. Statistically, the bigger watermelon, the more likely it's ripe because it has the time to grow bigger. But some watermelon is really just small, but it's ripened, it tastes good. Then you can't use the size. You can only say the probability of a bigger watermelon has a better chance of better, but it doesn't guarantee you. Another thing is the skin. When it's really young, the outer skin is soft. You use a nail, you try to cut it, you know it's tougher. So that's another comparison. On the outer skin, tougher one is more ripe. If you put this in the water, it's supposed to float. If it's really young, it's supposed to sink. Most watermelons I have tested float. So I'm going to put this in the water to see whether it's float. So it does float. And then I'm going to cut it and separate the two material to see which one floats. Now I put this in. This floats, and this also floats. This is not really very accurate because you see both texture here would float. Leave a comments below, subscribe, like it, favorite, and share it.